Karibu Sana, and Bernard Wakoli, who is a political analyst.
Asante.
I have so many questions with limited time, but I'd like to start with the lady. And my first question of the day is, how did you see the election process that just took place last week, according to your view?
Thank you for... Now, the election of the repeat election of this is unfortunate. I can say for me, in my view, it's very unfortunate exercise because Kenyans really wish to get free and fair, credible election, but still it is not really free and fair.
According to you, it wasn't free.
It wasn't free and fair. That has really led the country in uncertainty. That people of the country who really wish to have gotten from IBC, because all Kenyans are having their hopes in IBC, but the IBC has failed Kenyans by not really giving.
And why didn't you end up on the ballot paper, by the way?
Come again?
Why didn't you? Why you not cleared to buy for the?
Oh, there were some technicalities that I was not able to.
That you wouldn't like to get into.
Yeah.
All right, Wakili, you can give us your legal perspective on this election that just took place.
Thank you very much. I think as a nation and as a people, it is always important that we always be mindful of the requirements of the law. When the Supreme Court invalidated the elections of His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta on the 1st of September, the court indeed gave certain directions. That first of all, that the repeat elections within 60 days, and it is not only the 60 days timeline that was important, but that such elections, such electoral resultant electoral process must be conducted in strict adherence to the law. If you look at section 25 of the IEBC Act, it lists down the principles that an electoral process must comply with. And I would not really want to go into the details because of the wisdom of time, but 3 key principles are necessary. One, that such elections shall be universal, equal suffrage, and equality of votes. Secondly, that such elections must be conducted independently. Why am I emphasizing those 2 key principles is we've witnessed that certain parts of the country indeed boycotted the repeat elections on the October 26th. And the question that one brings is that we allowed the political class to make us believe that we had to do elections on the 26th. My opinion, no. Because when you are interpreting the Constitution, you realize many people are saying that it is the Constitution saying that we must do it on the 60 days. But we are forgetting that there is a process that must give us the product, which is the presidential elections.
Which must be respected.
Must be respected. And we cannot really interpret Constitution by reading one article and forgetting about the rest. Starting from the beginning, there is that entire process of universality and the Article 81 of the Constitution, Article 86, talking about what such elections should look like. And from where I sit, I would really don't want to blame the Jubilee for the failure, because we have an institution that will always conducted itself as if it is independent, but in the recent past we have been treated into a lot of drama, where the chairman of the commission himself is saying that there is a lot of political interference with the affairs of the commission, and therefore he can never guarantee a credible poll. Yes.
All right. Every election is characterized in Kenya is characterized by so many vocabularies, and one was illegalities this time. Which are some of the illegalities that the Supreme Court found in the process and were they repeated, according to you?
One thing that I want to draw attention to, it is not just a matter of illegalities. An illegality is something that is not done in accordance with the law. Remember the August 8th election, there was that requirement that there is simultaneous transmission of the results from the constituency tallying centers. What does that mean? It means that when results are being sent to the National Tallying Center, there should be that scanned image of Form 34B that goes simultaneously. But what happened, and which led to the nullification of the August 8th election, that results were sent via text message, which is not provided for in the law. The law demands that whenever technology is employed, then there should be that simultaneous transmission of scanned image of Form 34B. That did not happen. But it's not only about the illegalities. There is what we call non-compliance. And that is why you see the 2017 Supreme Court departed from the Raila Odinga 2013 case because they misinterpreted Section 83 of the Elections Act that demanded it is disjunctive. It is saying that if you realize the election did not comply with the law, you do not have to go also into the materiality nature of that elections, whether such irregularities or illegalities fundamentally affected the overall results. So that is an interpretation that was established by Raila Odinga 2017, and those illegalities, as we see today, I want to believe that the court will still find some illegalities because the law demands that an environment where an election is conducted must be free from intimidation, free from violence, free from improper motives, and free from corruption, and should be impartially conducted. When you find a commission or a section of commissioners that have already made a position that we have to go on with this process, even if it is wrong, then let us have election. It should never be misconstrued that we must have election, but we must have a free, fair, transparent, verifiable, and credible elections. Yes.
I'd like to know what next, but I'll get back to you. According to you, my brother Bernard, what's your objective opinion on the just concluded election?
Okay, thank you very much. I think as far as we are seated at this moment, we are seeing so many question marks being raised in terms of the credibility and the fairness of the electoral process. When you look at what the IBC chairman has been projecting or has been saying all over every time he comes to address the media, you realize that he's contradicting himself.
Yes.
And this is what I call psychological projections. Because when you look at what happened on 8th, Kenyans have already developed that phobia about what the IBC is conducting. So wherever something is talked about, and everything now is open in the online water.
Yes.
So when the chairman talks about something, then Kenyans go to the portal, IBC portal, and what they are seeing is not what the chairman is saying. Then the psychological projection comes in that yes, this thing happened. It supposedly happened on 8th. So it's something that is being is happening now. So when that comes in, it raises tension among Kenyans. And listening to government officials talking about these elections, the interest was about beating the constitutional provisions, the way my friend Charles is talking about. When you look at the constitution, talks about election must be held within 6 days upon the nullification of the previous election. So when the election was annulled by the Supreme Court, notwithstanding the illegalities and irregularities, the IBC was was so much focused on conducting the election within those 60 days without looking at the processes. And those processes are very important. I'm looking at a scenario where any Kenyan, a voter, maybe from even those counties that have not been considered, those counties that elections have not taken place. A voter might go to court and claim that his right to vote was, denied because it was the mandate of IEBC is to ensure that it is free and conducive environment for every Kenyan to exercise his democratic right.
I'm guessing,
but those rights in some of those areas were denied. So there's a likelihood, not necessarily NASA or any Kenyan.
I'm guessing you
can go to
follow
court
the
and challenge.
IBC chairman on Twitter. You saw the tweets.
Yes.
And you saw his statement yesterday.
Yeah, sure.
What do you have to say about this?
You know, we are playing with figures here. You know, the IBC chairman wants to justify the statement that he talked about. Okay, his explanation might hold water in one way or another, but looking at it wholesomely, as far as this electoral process was concerned, then you start poking holes in those statements. For example, when he gave out the turnout rate of 48% initially, he did not have the chance to explain to the media how he's calculating that figure. You know, he said, okay, as far as I'm concerned now, the turnout of this election is 48%. So Kenyans generally, the general practice, Kenyans know that when you are doing a turnout percentage, is the people who have turned out against the whole number of people who have registered.
Yes.
But now, when you do that, because he gave a figure of those who had been identified by biometric KIM system, and the total number of now people who have registered, which is 19.6 million. So when you do that, you realize that the figure was coming to 20-something, 26. Even on CNN, it was projecting 30, 20-something. Yeah, you see. So then he comes up now. He says, my calculation was based on the number of people who have voted against the registered number of people in those electoral areas,
so
which is correct, but it was the responsibility of the chairman to explain to the population, to explain to Kenyans that this is how we are going to calculate these turnout figures, so that it doesn't raise so many questions.
There's a formula already.
Yeah, there's a formula. But now you see, when you are calculating against the total registered number of voters, it gives you a different figure. And when you are registered, for example, let's say you are polling station, people have registered 700. That's a rough estimate of the IBC, 700 in your polling station. Then in that polling station, people turn out to vote. The turnout is like, let's say, 20 people turns up to vote. So what IBC is doing is calculating the number in that polling station, the number of people who have come to vote against the registered number of that polling station as per that electoral unit. But when you are doing it as a Kenyan, you are seated, you get this figure, 20 people have voted. So what you'll do is take 20 divided by 19.6 million. So when you do that, you get different figures.
Thank you very much. Let's give the lady a chance to speak. The two principals have been accused of breaking the law. Chebukati has been accused of breaking the law. And do you think it should be a requirement that leaders like you have some background in law? Because these matters are majorly constitutional.
Yes. As far as with the IBC, indeed IBC is the problem when it comes to these elections from August 8th to date, that IBC has failed its mandate, because we won't be having, Kenyans would not be talking about the process, how many people voted turnout. This is purely IBC's process, that they should have done it in a credible way, in as is required to do the process. But all what we are Kenyans are experiencing, the problems and what have you, is the problem of IBC not delivering the right in election process. So
the institution should be corrected.
So they do not respect the rule of law. the leaders you are talking about. In fact, I don't see, people have been calling that the whole, the NASA NASA principal and Jubilee, they should be meet and dialogue. Dialogue what? Because everything is...
Dialogue is very important.
No, it's important, you know, in its own way.
To bring people together.
Yeah, that one is for people.
Yeah.
But the responsible institution, which should be making its, doing its mandate to ensure that they are delivering credible, free and fair, credible to Kenyans, even from the August, it is IBC. So in other words, IBC, for me, if I had all power...
We have not got value for our tax.
Yeah, it should go, we forget about IBC.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'd like to know, Wakili, what are the possibilities now that we are here?
I think...
The legal possibilities, yes.
I think we have found ourselves in what we call cul-de-sac. Because the challenges that we have managed to find ourselves are self-inflicted. Because remember, it is the duty and responsibility and each and every Kenyan to defend, respect and uphold the Constitution. And the Constitution has actually given us an opportunity that we do not have really to wait until an illegality occurs, but the mere apprehension that something might be done as a violation of the Constitution or a threatened breach to the Constitution, we have a responsibility. Therefore, going forward, I think dialogue is very, very important.
Number one.
Dialogue is important, and it must be an inclusive dialogue, and it should not be a dialogue that is characterized by hardline positions. It is my
irreducible maximum.
Yeah, but no, we are now beyond the irreducible minimums because an election has taken place, whether it is legal or not legal. I think the challenge that the president would be facing is legitimacy question. All the legal requirements, 50% plus one, 25% in each of the half of the counties, that one he has met. But now the next hurdle that we must now be very much mindful of is the legitimacy question. And going forward, I think it is necessary that both the NASA leadership and the Jubilee leadership must now sit down and now take stock and subject the entire process and ourselves in the thorough evaluation and analysis. And again, something very interesting that the youths, the young people of this nation have managed to allow themselves to be zoned in terms of political inclination, because it is our responsibility. Because when economy is bad, the majority that hurts is the youth. Yes. They are jobless in the first place. Most of them are inexperienced. Some of them have not managed to get the at least irreducible level of education. So it is indeed our responsibility as young people to ensure that we put our leadership on its toes, to ensure that there is nothing about us without us. What that means, there should be that active and sustained engagement whereby we have an opportunity to voice this concern, so that when a certain political class or group is demanding for certain minimum reforms, we must be very much alive to the fact that are they reasonable demands, are they genuine concerns, or they are concerns that are motivated by self-aggrandizement or those kind of sorts. So I think it is high time that we really need to sit back and reflect as a nation. So
as I was coming to work, I saw the headline on one popular newspaper saying the NASA principal says he's going to retire in his own terms. That's a headline. The other side, there's a headline as well. So do you think there's a chance somebody is going to go to the Supreme Court to petition? And does NASA, after withdrawing from the election, have the right to...
There is something we call in law that a principle that denies you an opportunity to seek redress from the courts when whatever you want to complain of, you are part of the process, or you are the one who has perpetuated that illegality. But that aside, because I don't believe that the NASA leadership have committed any illegality, because they did not want to subject themselves in a process that already believe that it is one-sided. So participating in it, and then again you go back to court and you are just from court and you got your day in court. And as we sit here, there is already a petition to the Supreme Court that was filed by Okia Okoiti Omtata, challenging the credibility of the October 26th elections. And that one does not mean that once the result will be declared or officially Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has been declared as president-elect, that one does not mean the right of redress to court. The local standard does not have to be the political players. It doesn't have to be NASA this time around. Every voter has a right to approach the courts under Article 22, right together with Article 258 of the Constitution. So it is just a matter of wait and see. Once such results are officially declared by the Commission, any Kenyan, any political group, any civil society has a right to approach the court. If they believe there are certain illegalities, there are certain things that were done by the Commission throughout this repeat elections that were not in compliance with the law. So I think it is important that we remain eternally vigilant, and the most important thing that let us preach peace and unity of this nation. But we cannot preach peace and unity while we are premised on violations of the law, violation of the right of the people. Other people are not voting. The law is talking about equality of votes and universality nature of our elections. It means it has to be conducted everywhere, and each and every person's vote must count.
Which leads to my next question for my brother right here. There are these three words: truth, justice, and peace. Do you think one can exist without that?
Okay, there can never be peace without justice. Justice is a very important term, or a very important word, and sometimes we try to put it under the carpet and emphasize so much on peace. And you know, when the heart is bleeding from inside, and you are saying, okay, let's keep peace, let's promote peace, I'll shake your hand, yes, but inside I'm bleeding because I'm realizing injustice has been meted on me. And when I feel injustice, however much you preach peace on me, I'm still looking for a way at which I can, vent this injustice. So as it's good to preach peace. Peace is very important, but also let's concentrate on ensuring that our constitutional provisions are adhered to, because we can only get justice through the Constitution. If for example you wrong me, then I revenge on you. The two wrongs don't make a right. So as much as the justice and peace are concerned, I see peace, justice precedes peace. And what I just call upon our fellow young people, because this station mainly for young people, and most young people are watching, it's very important that we don't take laws into our own hands. Because as we are approaching, I know IBC might declare the presidential results any time from now, because most constituencies have sending their Form 34Bs, and the time is now above. So I think IBC is likely to declare the electoral results now. And when the declaration will be made, I'm seeing a scenario where most parts of this country, people might feel not satisfied with the outcome and the process, the way it was done.
Which is always the occurrence in every
so I think as much as people want to express themselves outside there, and mostly it's young people, let us not allow ourselves to be used or misused by those establishments. Let us look at our neighbors as neighbors and try to follow the right procedures. And also the police have been accused of using excessive force in trying to control the young people who are expressing themselves, because they have a right under the Constitution to picket, to demonstrate, to do. That's a right that cannot be denied on you, because the Constitution only provides two fundamental rights: the right to vote and the right to picket and express yourself. So when the police are responding to these picketing and demonstrations, have been accused of using excessive forces,
which is very funny, because
in the 21st century, there are so many technologies and there are so many things outside there that the police can use to disperse a crowd without necessarily harming them. You know, when you use live bullets on somebody who is holding a stick
or a stone,
you know, it's like killing a mosquito with a hammer. You know, so let's exercise restraint as a police service. Let's have a service as contained in the law and not a force. Because when you use force, then you know, the people you are you are trying to control also try to use force, and in that doing we are violating our constitution.
Thank you very much.
Our constitution.
Yeah.
Just to finish before we end, we have seen so many things going on in social media, especially there's so much of fake news going around, and you know, this, as much as we have the social media platforms, Twitter, WhatsApp, Facebook, which are mostly used by young people, I just call upon ourselves, me being one of them, that we use these social media platforms responsibly and positively, because you will get something, somebody has posted something positive, then it's edited, then retweeted or reposted in a manner to you know, to incite the other part. So let's use this social media constructively, especially at this moment when our country is facing very difficult circumstances. So it's upon ourselves to know that it's our Kenya, it's our country, and we destroy it today, we'll build it. Because these elections, economically speaking, Kenya is the country in the world that holds very, very expensive elections. I was privileged to oversee elections in Germany the other day in September. In a country of a population of more than 80 million, they only spend 61 million on election.
61 million Kenyan shillings.
61 million euros.
Euros, that amounts to...
When you divide by the total number of the population, you realize that it's almost 1 euro.
1 euro
per individual.
The previous one just costed us like 12 billion Kenyan shillings.
The last one is 12 billion.
Yes.
The previous, and eighth, the whole year budget was around 42.9 billion. So when you round up this amount, you realize that we are spending so much amount that can be used on on the development processes. But the corruption also comes in, and you know, when we save this way, they are taken also. So it's
we are running out of time.
We
are running out of time. But I'd like to get your final remarks. And this is a youth station. We mostly talk to the youth. And during this process, what is your message to the Kenyan youth? And do you think the Kenyan youth are getting the shorter end of the stick? And if they are, what advice would you give to them?
The Kenyan youth, I will always appeal to them that they should respect the rule of law. And we need to adhere to our democracy. Because the problem is that we don't adhere, Africans or Kenyans don't adhere to democracy. That's why we are experiencing all these problems with the
Maybe it's just not for us, don't you think? Maybe democracy is not.
Yeah, we always say democracy. We talk of, you hear leaders say democracy, but in the really democracy is not in practice. It's just the word democracy, which is, now we don't even people don't even know about democracy. We are seeing the things are done in a unique way.
So they should respect the law.
They should rule of law. They respect themselves, respect the rule of law, and any country that respects the rule of law, there is order, good governance, and that's how everything goes in place. I mean, that's how people enjoy their lifestyles in each country. Respect the rule of law.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. Wakili, your legal advice to the Kenyan youth?
I think it would be wrong for us to say that our youths do not respect the rule of law. I think our democracy has really tried to mature, and in as much as we're still a nascent democracy, it would be wrong for us to say it is our youths. I think the failure to observe and uphold the rule of law is unwillingness of the leadership and those who are charged with the mandate of ensuring that our actions, our processes, are those processes that are sanctioned and conducted in accordance with the laws of our land. Therefore, it would be quite unfortunate that we want to blame our youths. Our youth, just as any other Kenyan, when the leadership and our institutions are being eroded by our political class and our leaders, and we remain silent, it is quite unfortunate. But from the perspective of a legal expert, I think the only rallying call that I can tell our youths that it is our duty to defend the Constitution. So let us rise up, not rising in terms of war, or violence, or vandalism, or what, but let us rise up in terms of ensuring that if we see our institutions are under threat, it is our duty to speak out and tell our leadership that, look here, what we are headed in the wrong directions. Let us respect our institutions. Let us give our institutions breathing space, and let us also give those who have given an opportunity to serve us in those capacities and to run those institutions an enabling environment to allow them to be conscious enough to understand that any action, remember the responsibility of leadership. And Article 73 demands that an authority assigned to a state or a public officer is a public trust that must be exercised in a manner that demonstrates respect to the people, brings honor to the nation, and bring out the dignity of the officer holds. So it is my call for our young people that let us be vigilant enough and let us ensure that we defend, uphold, and respect our Constitution. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you. You had talked to the youth, but I'll give you like a few seconds. Yes,
okay,
to summarize. Yes.
Thank you very much. What we are facing as a country is what I would refer to as moral decay. The lack of trust in the systems, institutions, and procedures. And the lack of trust and moral decay starts from within our houses.
Yes.
We don't trust our institution because when I have, I'm indebted to Charles, and he comes to the house to claim what I'm indebted to him, I'll tell my child, Charles akikuja mwambie dada yuko.
Yes.
So this child grows with that mentality of lying. And that's what we are facing as a country. We are facing a system where leaders are lying.
Quite a number of CEOs in Kenya
we cannot
imported,
trust,
yes.
We cannot trust the institutions because we feel institutions are stealing from us, from the judiciary, the legislature, now the IBC. You know, there's totally confusion.
So change,
and this is morality.
With us.
It starts with us. And it starts with you as an individual, as a parent. Ensure that when your children are growing up, they grow up knowing the truth and stand for the truth. Not saying this and you do this because these children are watching you. So young people, I know you have grown up in different environments. We have grown up in different circumstances. But that should not determine how we want to take this country. This country belongs to us. The future of this country is in our hands. We can take it wherever we want to go. And also, to summarize, I think the incentives, the political incentives in this country is very, very high. That's why you see people fighting for positions, because it's a do or die thing. Yes. It's like if I'm there, if I'm there, that's when our people will eat. We want equal distribution of resources, so that it doesn't matter who's on the position. Anybody, even a villager like me, can rise and become a president without necessarily having
You're a very so eloquent villager,
a villager like me. So we need to have a country where there's equal distribution of resources. Everybody is able to access what constitutionally belongs to him, and because politics determines who gets what, when, and how, then it's that politics that should distribute the resources.
My producer is telling me we are running out of time. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for hanging with us on Y in the Morning. We appreciate you. Yes, this has been another segment of Youth and Politics. We were discussing the state of the nation. While you exercise your right, please respect the rights of other Kenyans as well, so that we can live in harmony and just coexist in this beautiful nation. Kalamival will be back with Man Crush Monday, so don't go nowhere.